The satin gift box slipped from Nora Walsh's trembling hands and hit the marble floor with a sharp crack. Behind her, Daniel stood frozen in his dark suit, still holding the bouquet of lilies. Their daughter's voice, calm and deliberate, cut through the hum of violins. "Mom, Dad, you're not on the guest list. This is my day. Please leave." For a heartbeat, Nora thought she'd misheard. But Helena's eyes were steady, her perfect smile unmoved. The door of the bridal suite hung open, spilling laughter and the pop of champagne into the hall. Nora stared at her daughter. So beautiful, so distant. "Helena, what are you saying?" Helena adjusted her veil, voice smooth. "Marcus and I want a small, elegant ceremony. Just friends and his family. I hope you understand." Daniel's voice broke. "Understand? We paid for this wedding. Every chair, every plate, every flower." Helena's polite smile didn't fade. "You offered, Dad. We're grateful. But it's our future, not yours. Grateful." The word cut deep. Nora reached into her purse, took out a small silver box tied with blue ribbon. "This was meant for you," she said softly. "Your grandmother's pearl brooch. Every Walsh bride wore it." Helena glanced at it, expression cool. "It doesn't fit my dress. Keep it safe for now." From inside the room, someone laughed. Nora's hand tightened until the ribbon tore. "Please," Helena added gently, "don't make a scene." A scene. That was what her daughter feared. Imperfection. Daniel touched Nora's elbow. "Let's go." Before they moved, Marcus appeared in the doorway, tall and composed. "Everything all right here?" "Just fine," Helena said quickly. "My parents were leaving." Marcus smiled politely. "Thank you for understanding." They walked down the corridor, silence thick as fog. Behind them, laughter returned. Downstairs, the string quartet rehearsed Pachelbel's canon. Guests arrived, smiling for photos, unaware the couple who paid for it all had just been dismissed. A planner appeared with a clipboard and a nervous smile. "Mr. and Mrs. Walsh, please use the side exit." The bride requested no confusion. Outside, wind off Harborview Bay whipped Nora's hair. The garden gleamed in sunlight, white chairs, rose arch, champagne on ice. Every detail was hers, chosen, paid, perfected. Now she stood outside, unwanted. Daniel's voice cracked. $32,000 for the venue, $15,000 for catering, $8,000 for the band. He shook his head. "And she tells us to leave." Nora stared at the sea. She's not the little girl who made paper crowns anymore. "No," he said bitterly. "She's the woman ashamed of us." They stood by the hedge, watching cars arrive. Marcus's parents stepped out, elegant and oblivious. Nora felt something inside her shift, not rage, but resolve. "Let's not cry here," she said quietly. Daniel looked at her. "Then where?" "The Brass Finch Cafe," she replied. "We'll get coffee." 10 minutes later, they sat by the window overlooking the harbor. The smell of coffee steadied her hands. Nora opened her purse, took out a folder and spread papers across the table. Contracts, invoices, receipts. Daniel frowned. "You brought everything?" "I wanted to make sure the day went smoothly," she said. "Now I'll make sure it ends the same way." He hesitated. I mean we call everyone. The florist, the caterer, the band. Every service we paid for, cancel it." Daniel stared at her, then nodded slowly. "She told us to leave. We'll give her what she asked for." He took out his phone. She did the same. One call after another. Calm voices, no shouting, no emotion. "The contract is in our name. We're canceling, effective immediately." When the last call ended, Daniel leaned back. "Instant karma," he said softly. Nora slipped the silver box into her bag. "She wanted us invisible," she murmured. "Let's disappear properly." Outside, gulls circled over the docks. The sunlight glittered across the waves. Inside the cafe, two parents sat together, not broken, but awake. They had given their daughter everything: money, patience, forgiveness, and she had treated them as props in her perfect life. At Cliffside Manor, the ceremony began. Music played, guests clapped. Then the flowers stopped arriving. The servers vanished. The lights flickered. Confusion rippled through the crowd. Helena's perfect world began to collapse. By sunset, the wedding had unraveled. The band packed up. The caterer left. Guests whispered. Didn't her parents pay for all this? From the cafe window, Nora watched the horizon fade to gold. She felt no triumph, only quiet peace. For the first time in years, she wasn't waiting for her daughter's approval. She was reclaiming something far greater, her dignity. The wind shifted, carrying the faint echo of laughter from the manor. It faded, leaving only calm. The lesson had begun, for the daughter who cast them out, and for the parents who finally remembered how to leave. Phones rang across Harborview like alarm bells. By the time the bride walked down the aisle, half the vendors were already gone. The florist's truck pulled away with buckets of roses still inside. The band stopped mid-song, and a wave of confusion swept through Cliffside Manor. Helena froze at the altar, her perfect smile cracking as whispers spread through the guests. At a small cafe by the harbor, Nora and Daniel sat by the window, watching the sea glitter under the afternoon sun. Daniel's phone buzzed again. "The planner," he muttered. "She's called 6 times. "Let it ring," Nora said, stirring her coffee. "We gave them everything. Now we take it back." Inside the manor, the wedding planner, Tara Bloom, was unraveling. Her headset buzzed with frantic voices. "They canceled everything," shouted a vendor. "Their names are on the contracts." Tara pressed a hand to her forehead. "Find them," she told her assistant, "before the reception starts." But the Walshes were gone. Guests shifted in their seats as servers quietly wheeled carts of untouched food out of sight. Marcus's father barked at Tara. "What kind of wedding is this?" his wife whispered. "Maybe they ran out of money." Helena's pulse pounded. "Fix it," she told Tara. "I can't," Tara said helplessly. "Your parents pulled every payment. They own the contracts." Helena's throat tightened. She turned toward Marcus, who was arguing with the caterer. "We'll pay next week," he shouted. The man shook his head. No payment, no service. Then he left. The string quartet stopped playing. Guests began whispering. Helena felt their stares, pity, judgment, curiosity. She forced a smile and called out, "Everyone, please enjoy the view." But her voice quivered. The music didn't return. She pulled out her phone and dialed her mother. Straight to voicemail. Again. Finally, she texted, "What are you doing? Why is everything shutting down?" Across town, Nora's phone buzzed on the cafe table. She looked at the screen, then flipped it over. Daniel frowned. "You're not answering?" "No," Nora said. "Not this time." He leaned back, eyes on the sea. "Never thought we'd do something like this." "Neither did I," she said. "But she wanted us gone. We're just honoring her request." At the manor, chaos spread. The officiant whispered to Marcus. "Should we proceed?" Marcus hissed. "Just start." But there was no music, no staff, no dinner waiting. The guests stood awkwardly. Marcus's mother muttered, "This is humiliating." His father glared at Helena. "Your parents sabotaged their own daughter's wedding?" Helena swallowed hard. "I don't know," she whispered, but deep down she did. The whispers grew louder. "Didn't her parents pay for all this?" someone said. "Then why is everything collapsing?" Helena tried calling again. Nothing. The silence on the other end was worse than anger. At the cafe, Nora paid the bill. The waitress smiled politely. "Busy day?" "You could say that," Daniel replied. They stepped outside. The sky glowed orange over the bay. From far away came faint echoes, voices, the crash of something breaking. Nora took Daniel's hand. "Do you feel guilty?" He hesitated. "A little." "I don't," she said. "I feel finished." Back at Cliffside, the ceremony disintegrated. The power flickered, then died. The DJ packed up. Guests wandered toward their cars, muttering apologies they didn't mean. The grand event was over before the vows were spoken. Helena stood alone in the courtyard, her dress catching on wilted petals. The smell of melted wax and salt filled the air. Marcus approached, fury etched into his face. "What did you do?" he demanded. "My parents did this," she cried. "Then fix it," he snapped. "Call them, beg them. My family looks ridiculous." Tears blurred her vision. "They're not answering," she said. "They don't want to." Marcus turned away, disgusted. Maybe they finally realized what you really are. His words hit harder than she expected. For a long moment, Helena stood still, watching as the last of the guests drifted away. The courtyard emptied, leaving only broken glass and the sound of the waves crashing below the cliffs. Miles away, Nora sat in the car beside Daniel, the harbor lights reflecting in the windshield. She exhaled slowly. "She'll call again," she said. Daniel nodded. "And then what? Then we'll decide if she's calling to apologize or to use us again." The tide rolled in, slow and steady, erasing footprints along the sand. At Cliffside Manor, the candles went dark. The music stopped for good. For the first time in years, Nora felt peace. The kind that comes after a storm, when there's nothing left to fix, only the calm that follows when you finally stop giving. The night settled over Harborview. One daughter learned what pride costs. Two parents learned what freedom feels like. The sea kept their secret, its surface glimmering under the quiet stars. Morning came slow over Harborview, wrapped in fog and silence. The sea below Cliffside Manor rolled gray and restless. Nora Walsh woke early, the taste of sleeplessness still on her tongue. She brewed coffee, watched the gulls trace the waves, and waited. Daniel joined her, robe loose, eyes tired. "She'll call," he said. "Maybe," Nora answered. "But I don't know what she could say that would matter now." The phone rang just after 8. Daniel hesitated before picking it up. His voice flattened. "Yes, Helena." He handed the receiver to Nora. "Mom." Helena's voice cracked. "How could you do that to me?" Nora stayed calm. "You told us to leave, darling. We did as you asked. You ruined my wedding." Helena cried. People were horrified. Marcus's parents. "They saw the truth," Nora cut in. "You built that wedding to impress them, not to honor love." Helena's breath hitched. "I just wanted everything to look perfect." "It did," Nora said quietly, until the pretending stopped. "You embarrassed me," Helena whispered. "No," Nora replied. "You embarrassed yourself." The line clicked. Silence returned. Daniel looked at her. Too gentle. "She's still our daughter," Nora murmured, "but she's not our child anymore." By noon, the town was buzzing. The failed wedding had become gossip, whispers in bakeries, headlines in local blogs. "Parents cancel daughter's lavish wedding," one read. Tara Bloom, the planner, was still fending off calls. At a hotel by the bay, Helena sat on the bed surrounded by wilted flowers. Marcus scrolled through his phone, jaw tight. "Your mother humiliated you. I warned you she'd ruin things." "She didn't ruin it," Helena muttered. "I did." He turned sharply. "What did you just say?" "I told them not to come," she said, her voice trembling. "Marcus, I thought it would make us look more refined." He laughed, low and sharp. "Refined? You look pathetic. Everyone knows your parents pulled the plug." Helena stared at him. "You're enjoying this." "I'm surviving it," he said. unlike you." By evening, she couldn't bear his contempt. She drove to her parents' house through the fog. The porch light glowed faintly. She stood for a moment, unsure, then knocked. Daniel opened the door. "Helena, can I come in?" she asked. He paused before nodding. Nora was at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. She looked up slowly. "You look exhausted." "I haven't slept," Helena admitted. Nora gestured to a chair. "Then sit." For a while, neither spoke. The clock ticked softly. Then Helena whispered, "I'm sorry." "Marcus said his family wanted something more elegant. He said you and Dad wouldn't fit in." Nora's voice was quiet but steady. "And you believed him." "I wanted to," Helena said. "I thought being accepted by them meant I was finally enough." Nora studied her daughter's face, mascara smudged, pride gone. "You mistook approval for love." Helena's eyes filled. "I was wrong." "You were proud," Nora said. "Pride makes fools of us all." Daniel poured her coffee. Helena's hands shook as she took it. "Marcus is furious," she said. "He says I ruined everything." Nora nodded. "You did, but maybe that's how you start over." Helena swallowed hard. "Will you forgive me?" Nora's tone softened. "Forgiveness is easy. Trust takes time." Helena looked down. "Everyone's talking. I feel like I lost everything." Nora leaned forward. "Sometimes losing everything is what saves you." They sat quietly until Helena whispered, "Marcus wants to leave Harborview. He says we need distance." "Or maybe he wants to run," Nora said. Helena hesitated. "I don't know who he is anymore." "Then it's time you find out who you are," Nora replied. Helena met her mother's gaze. "Do you think I can fix this?" "You can grow from it," Nora said. "That's better than fixing." Helena stood. "Thank you for letting me in." Daniel's voice was gentle. The door was never locked. At the threshold, Helena turned. "I love you, Mom." Nora didn't smile. "Then show it by respecting us next time." Outside, fog wrapped the house. Helena walked to her car, feeling small beneath the gray sky. The ocean roared softly, distant and unbothered. Inside, Nora and Daniel stood together. He said, "Do you think she meant it?" "Maybe," Nora said, "but meaning isn't enough." Her gaze fell on the small silver box resting on the counter. She touched it lightly. "When she learns what love really costs, she'll be ready for this." "And if she doesn't?" Daniel asked. "Then it stays here," Nora replied. "Some things belong to those who value them." The tide rolled in steady against the cliffs. In the quiet kitchen, Nora exhaled. The storm outside was fading, but the one that mattered had just begun, the kind that rebuilds after destruction. Rain swept across Harborview the next afternoon, washing the last traces of Helena's ruined wedding into the gutters. Nora Walsh sat at the kitchen table, pen poised over a stack of papers. Daniel stood by the window, watching the storm streak down the glass. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly. Nora signed the final page. "Absolutely. We've given long enough. Now we protect what's left." The documents came from their new financial advisor in Portland. A trust, a revised will, and new account restrictions. From now on, no one, not even Helena, could touch a cent without their consent. Daniel frowned. "She'll think this is punishment." "It's not," Nora said. "It's a boundary." The phone buzzed. Helena's name lit up the screen. Nora silenced it. Across town, Helena sat in her car outside the bank. The teller had just informed her that the shared family account was frozen. She'd smiled politely, but once outside, tears spilled down her cheeks. Marcus called as she wiped her face. "Did you fix it?" he demanded. "No, it's closed. Then use your savings. I don't have enough." He cursed. Figures. He didn't come home that night. At home, Nora placed the signed papers into a lockbox. There, she said. It's done. Daniel hesitated. Do you think she'll forgive us? She doesn't have to, Nora replied. She just has to learn. 2 days later, they met their advisor in Portland. The man was calm, methodical. You're not cutting your daughter off, he told them. You're redefining what support looks like. Nora smiled faintly. We spent 30 years saying yes. Maybe it's time she learns the meaning of no. The drive home wound through misty pine forests. Nora rolled down her window, breathing in the damp air. It feels lighter already, she said. That evening, they found an envelope on the porch. Inside was a note written in Helena's careful hand. I'm sorry. I just need time to figure things out. I love you. Daniel read it once. Do you believe her? I want to, Nora said softly. But wanting and trusting aren't the same. Helena spent the next days alone. Marcus ignored her texts. The florist called demanding payment. Bills were piling up, all under her parents' name. When she tried confronting Marcus, he didn't even look at her. This isn't working, he said. What do you mean? I can't be part of this. You're bad for my image. He left the next morning. By evening, Helena was driving through fog, headlights slicing the gray. She stopped in front of her parents' house, the porch light glowing faintly. For a long moment, she just stood there, drenched and trembling. Then she knocked. Daniel opened the door. Helena, can I come in? He nodded, stepping aside. Nora sat at the kitchen table, reading. She looked up calmly. You look exhausted. I haven't slept, Helena whispered. Nora motioned to a chair. Then sit. They said nothing for a while. Rain tapped against the windows. Finally, Helena spoke. I'm sorry. Marcus said his family wanted something more refined. He said you and Dad wouldn't fit in. Nora's voice stayed even. And you believed him. I did. I thought if they accepted me, I'd finally be enough. You mistook approval for love, Nora said softly, and you paid for it. Helena's eyes filled. I was stupid. No, Nora replied. You were proud. Pride makes us blind until we lose what matters. Daniel poured coffee and set a cup before her. What will you do now? I don't know, Helena said. Everyone's talking. I feel humiliated. Then start rebuilding quietly, Nora said. There's dignity in that. Helena's voice cracked. Will you forgive me? Forgiveness is easy, Nora said. Trust takes work. Helena nodded slowly. Marcus is gone. Maybe that's for the best. Nora's expression softened. It is. When Helena stood to leave, she hesitated in the doorway. I love you, Mom. Love means more when you act on it, Nora said gently. Helena nodded once, then disappeared into the fog. Inside, Daniel joined Nora at the window. Do you think she'll change? She's starting to, Nora said. Pain teaches what comfort never can. He poured them each a glass of wine. To boundaries, he said. Nora raised hers. To peace. Outside, the rain slowed to a mist. The sea shimmered faintly beyond the cliffs. Nora turned toward the silver brooch lying on the counter. When she learns what love costs, she'll be ready for this. Daniel smiled faintly. And if she never does, then we'll keep it, Nora said. Some things must be earned. Thunder rumbled far out at sea, soft and fading like applause for the lesson that had finally begun. The week after the wedding, sunlight returned to Harborview, soft and deceptive. The gossip was fading, but Nora Walsh still felt its echo in every polite smile at the market. She spent her mornings tending the garden, pulling weeds she had ignored for months. Daniel rebuilt the fence, hammering in silence. On Tuesday, a letter arrived addressed to Nora. No return address, just a familiar hand. She opened it slowly. Mom, I'm staying with Aunt Marjorie for now. Marcus left. I don't know what I'm doing, but I needed somewhere safe. Please don't hate me. Love, Helena. Nora read it twice before handing it to Daniel. She's with Marjorie, he said. Good. That boy's gone. She chose him, Nora murmured. It's her lesson to live. At Marjorie's farmhouse, Helena sat on the porch swing, hair tangled, face bare. Marjorie handed her coffee. So you finally figured out who you married? Helena gave a small laugh. Turns out I didn't know him or myself. Your mother tried to warn you, Marjorie said gently. She's got a gift for truth that stings first, heals later. Helena looked out at the fields. She deserved better than the daughter I've been. Then start being better, Marjorie said simply. Back in Harborview, Nora met once more with their financial advisor in Portland. He smiled approvingly. Your accounts are secure. Your daughter won't be liable for his debts. Thank you, Nora said. She's made mistakes, but I won't let them destroy her future. That night, Daniel found her staring at old photographs, Helena as a child grinning with missing teeth. You're thinking about her, he said. I always am, Nora replied. But love doesn't mean cleaning up after her anymore. Days passed quietly until Marjorie appeared at their door one rainy evening. She's not eating, she said. She keeps saying she ruined everything. Nora's heart clenched. Did she ask for help? No, she's too proud, just like her mother. That night, unable to sleep, Nora drove through fog toward Marjorie's farm. Inside, Helena sat curled on the couch, knees drawn tight. She looked up, startled. You shouldn't have come. I wanted to, Nora said softly. Helena's eyes filled. I'm sorry. I don't know who I am anymore. You're learning, Nora said. That's enough for now. Helena's voice cracked. Marcus took everything. Money, friends, reputation. I feel empty. Good, Nora replied. Emptiness means room to rebuild. They sat in silence. Then Helena whispered, When did you stop forgiving me? When forgiveness stopped helping you grow, Nora said. Helena's shoulders shook. I wanted to make you proud. I already am, Nora said. You're still standing. By dawn, Helena was asleep on the couch. Marjorie handed Nora a cup of coffee. You're staying? For a while, Nora said. Later that morning, they walked outside. The rain had washed the fields clean. She's fragile, Marjorie said. She's bending, Nora corrected. That's different from breaking. Back inside, Helena found a note. I'll be in the garden. She followed the smell of damp soil to find Nora kneeling by the lavender, hands deep in the dirt. I used to hate gardening, Helena said. You hated waiting, Nora replied. I still do. Then start small, Nora said. Everything worth growing takes time. They worked side by side, quiet except for the rustle of leaves. When the sun broke through, Helena spoke. Do you think I can start over? You already have, Nora said. That afternoon, Nora prepared to leave. Helena walked her to the car. Will you come back? She asked. When you're ready for the next step, Nora said. Helena's eyes glistened. I love you, Mom. Love means respecting yourself, Nora replied. Start there. Nora drove home as the cliffs turned gold behind her. The ocean stretched wide and forgiving. Daniel was waiting on the porch. How is she? Hurting, Nora said, but she's finally facing it. He smiled. And you? I'm finally breathing. They stood watching the horizon until dusk. Inside, Nora placed Helena's letter beside the silver brooch on the counter, two fragile reminders of loss and endurance. She'll find her way, Daniel said quietly. She will, Nora replied, because we stopped carrying her. That night, waves crashed softly below the cliffs. Nora whispered into the darkness, Grow strong, my girl. Daniel turned off the lamp. She will, he said. Outside, The lavender in the garden swayed in the night breeze, and the stars flickered above, small, stubborn lights over a family learning, at last, how to heal. A month passed before Harborview forgot about the ruined wedding. Tourists filled the harbor again, laughter replaced gossip, and the Walsh house grew quiet. But something in Nora had changed. She no longer felt like a victim of her daughter's choices. She felt like a woman reclaiming her life. One morning, an embossed envelope arrived. Inside was a handwritten note. Dinner invitation. The Azure Pearl, Saturday at 7. I'd like to talk. Beneath it, Helena's signature. Daniel read over her shoulder. You think it's an apology or another performance? Maybe both, Nora said. Either way, we'll go. The Azure Pearl shimmered under candlelight when they arrived. Helena was already seated. She stood as they approached, her expression shy, unsure. Mom, Dad, thank you for coming. Daniel's tone was flat. We're listening. They sat. The waiter poured water and disappeared. Helena fidgeted with her napkin, then began. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I needed to see you. I owe you both the truth. Nora stayed silent, her gaze steady. I was wrong, Helena said. I thought pushing you away would make me stronger. I wanted to prove I didn't need you. Instead, I lost everything. Daniel folded his arms. And Marcus? Gone, she said. He left 2 weeks ago. I found out he'd been lying for months about work, about money. I thought he'd make me better, but he only showed me how little I valued myself. Her voice trembled but didn't break. I know you warned me, and I didn't listen. I hurt you, and I can't undo that, but I can try to live differently. Daniel's eyes softened. What does that mean? It means, she said, I've started working at a local gallery. It's small, but it's mine. I'm renting an apartment near Aunt Marjorie's. I paid part of the florist bill myself. Nora's expression flickered. You did that without asking? Yes, Helena said. I'm done expecting rescues. The waiter brought food neither of them touched. Conversation felt fragile, but real. Daniel finally spoke. We made mistakes, too. We gave too much, too easily. We thought generosity would protect you. Nora looked at him, surprised but grateful. He continued, We should have taught you how to stand alone. Helena smiled faintly. Maybe I needed to fall to figure that out. Nora studied her daughter, the arrogance gone, replaced by humility. We'll never stop loving you, Helena. But love needs respect to survive. I know, Helena said quietly, and I want to earn it back. For the first time in months, Nora reached across the table and covered Helena's hand. Then start by respecting yourself. The silence that followed was gentle, not sharp. When the bill came, Helena reached for it. Daniel tried to stop her. We can take this one. She shook her head. No, Dad, please. Let me. They left the restaurant together. Outside, the air was cool and smelled of salt. The harbor lights shimmered on the water. Helena hesitated. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. Nora's voice was soft but certain. We came because you're trying. That's enough. Helena smiled through tears. Can we start over? Starting over, Nora said, doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means remembering better. They hugged, brief, trembling but real. Driving home, Daniel broke the silence. She's changing. Yes, Nora said, but she's still learning who she is without us. That's how it should be. When they reached the house, Nora paused by the front door. I didn't mention the trust. Good, Daniel replied. She needs to earn her way, not inherit it. Nora nodded, then walked to the window. The lavender outside was blooming, filling the night with fragrance. She's growing, she murmured. Daniel smiled. So are you. Later, Unable to sleep, Nora went out to the porch. The sea was calm, the moon bright. She thought of all the ways love had changed shape, how it had once been sacrifice, then silence, and now something stronger, boundaries. Daniel joined her with 2 cups of tea. To peace, he said. Nora lifted hers. To beginnings. They sat together, listening to the tide roll in. Across the harbor, a faint light glowed from Helena's apartment window. Nora smiled softly, imagining her daughter painting or reading or simply existing without fear. Daniel watched her expression. "You're thinking about her again." "I always will," Nora said. "That's what mothers do. But now I'm also thinking about us." He reached for her hand. "Then maybe we all learned something." Nora looked toward the horizon where the sea met the night sky. "Yes," she said, "we finally learned what love really means." Summer softened Harborview. Sunlight washed the cliffs, and gulls circled lazily above the bay. In the Walsh house, peace had taken root. The tension that once shadowed every conversation had faded, replaced by a calm that felt earned. Nora spent her mornings in the garden, Daniel on the porch, reading the paper. They rarely spoke of Helena now, but she was always there, woven into every quiet thought. One afternoon, Daniel walked in holding an envelope. "You've got mail." Nora opened it carefully. Inside was a photo of Helena standing in front of an art gallery. Her dress was simple, her smile small but real. On the back, a short note. "Opening night. Thank you for believing I could still change." Nora felt a flicker of warmth. She's trying. Daniel smiled. "Then maybe it's time we see for ourselves." They arrived at the gallery unannounced. The space was small but full of life. Soft jazz, low chatter, the scent of paint and champagne. Helena stood by the entrance, greeting guests. When she saw them, surprise flashed across her face, then relief. "Mom, Dad, you came." "Of course," Nora said gently. "We wouldn't miss this." Helena led them through the exhibits. Her work, photographs of Harborview's coastline, was tender and unpretentious. Waves breaking against the cliffs, fishermen hauling nets, the harbor lights at dusk. "They're beautiful," Nora said quietly. "They're about rebuilding," Helena replied, "about finding light again." After the event, they walked to a nearby cafe. For a while, conversation was light. Books, recipes, Daniel's new woodworking project. It felt easy, ordinary. Then Helena took a breath. "I'm seeing a counselor," she said. "It's helping. I'm learning not to live in guilt." Nora nodded. "Good. Guilt traps you in yesterday. Growth pulls you forward." Helena studied her mother. "You seem different too." "I stopped feeling guilty for saying no," Nora replied. Peace followed. Helena smiled faintly. "I understand that now." For the first time, Nora saw her daughter not as the woman who'd hurt her, but as someone trying to heal. When they left, Helena hugged them both. "I'm not perfect yet," she said softly. "No one is," Nora answered. "Just keep choosing better." In the weeks that followed, Helena visited often. Quiet dinners, short walks by the cliffs. She laughed more, helped in the garden, asked about her parents' days. Once, while trimming the lavender, she said, "I used to think strength meant never needing anyone." Nora smiled. "Real strength is knowing when to reach out." Helena nodded thoughtfully. "I wish I'd learned that sooner." "Timing isn't kindness," Nora said, "but lessons arrive when we're ready." One evening, after a shared dinner, Helena asked, "Do you ever regret what happened?" Nora thought for a moment. "No, it broke us open, but sometimes that's how light gets in." Daniel, listening quietly, raised his glass. To lessons learned. Helena clinked hers against his, and to second chances. By midsummer, Helena called with new excitement. The gallery's giving me my own project, photos of coastal life. Nora smiled. You earned it, sweetheart. Daniel asked gently, Think she's ready for the necklace? Not yet, Nora said, but someday. In early August, Nora visited her therapist, Dr. Hayes. You seem lighter, the doctor observed. My daughter's growing, Nora said, and I finally stopped trying to live her life for her. Dr. Hayes nodded. That's what peace sounds like. Later that month, Helena invited them to join her for a sunrise shoot by the coast. They arrived before dawn. Mist hung low over the water. Standing on the sand, Helena adjusted her camera. Hold still, she said with a smile. I want one photo of the people who taught me to start over. The sky brightened. Nora watched her daughter through the glow of first light, focused, calm, entirely herself. She felt pride swell, quiet and certain. When Helena lowered her camera, she said softly, Thank you for letting me fall. Nora's voice was steady. Thank you for standing up again. They walked along the shore, waves brushing their ankles. Daniel picked up a shell and handed it to Helena. Keep it, he said. It's proof that something broken can still be beautiful. Helena smiled, slipping it into her pocket. I'll remember that. As the sun rose higher, painting the sea gold, Nora realized how far they'd come, from heartbreak to healing, from silence to understanding. Later, driving home, Daniel reached for her hand. She's really changed, he said. Yes, Nora replied, and maybe so have we. The lavender swayed in the breeze when they pulled into the driveway. Nora looked at the horizon and whispered, We're all learning how to bloom again. September arrived crisp and golden, bringing a new calm to Harborview. The Walsh garden bloomed late, lavender still bright against the fading summer. Nora moved through her mornings with quiet satisfaction. Coffee on the porch, letters from friends, evenings spent reading beside Daniel. Peace felt like a habit now, not a luxury. One afternoon, a familiar car pulled into the driveway. Helena stepped out carrying a cardboard box. I hope this isn't a bad time, she said nervously. Never, Nora replied, setting her book aside. Come in. Inside, Helena placed the box on the kitchen table. I've been sorting my things. I thought maybe you'd want these. Inside were childhood drawings, old letters, and family photos once left behind. Nora picked up a picture of Helena at age 7, missing teeth, hugging a puppy. I remember that day, she murmured. Helena smiled faintly. I'd forgotten how happy we all were. Daniel joined them, wiping his hands on a towel. You're looking well. I've been working more, Helena said. The gallery's new exhibit opens next month. I'm helping curate it. That's progress, Nora said warmly. They sat together with coffee. Conversation was easy until Helena hesitated. There's something I want to ask, she said softly. Would you come to the opening? I know the last time you came to something I planned. You don't have to finish that sentence, Nora interrupted. Yes, we'll be there. Relief crossed Helena's face. Thank you. After she left, Daniel said, She's rebuilding faster than I expected. Nora nodded. Sometimes you have to lose everything before you see what matters. A few weeks later, the gallery buzzed with anticipation. Helena's name appeared on the program, Assistant Curator, Helena Walsh. Nora and Daniel arrived quietly, greeted by polite smiles and the faint scent of champagne. Helena's exhibit was titled Reclamation. Photographs lined the walls, portraits of locals, old hands repairing nets, children chasing gulls, women tending gardens. Each image radiated tenderness, the beauty of ordinary strength. She found her voice, Daniel whispered. Nora's eyes filled. Finally. When Helena spotted them, she came over, eyes shining. You made it. Wouldn't miss it, Nora said. This is beautiful. I wanted to show what it means to rebuild, Helena said. What people look like when they stop pretending. A local journalist approached, asking for a photo of the artist with her parents. Helena looked at them, unsure. Nora smiled. Of course. They stood together, the camera flashing, capturing something that felt like forgiveness. After the event, they walked along the harbor under strings of lights. The breeze carried the scent of salt and night jasmine. You did good tonight, Daniel said. Helena laughed softly. For the first time in years, I feel like myself. Nora took her daughter's hand. You are yourself, darling. You just forgot for a while. The next morning, Helena visited again with croissants from her favorite bakery. They ate breakfast by the window, sunlight spilling across the table. Mom, Helena said hesitantly, can I ask you something personal? Always. After I told you to leave my wedding, how did you forgive me? Nora thought for a long moment. Forgiveness didn't come right away. It came the day I realized I didn't want to live angry. Anger keeps you tied to the person who hurt you. I wanted peace more than punishment. Helena nodded slowly, tears gathering. I don't deserve you. Maybe not, Nora said gently, but I'm your mother. Love isn't about deserving. They spent the afternoon in the garden, pruning the lavender. Helena knelt beside Nora, hands in the dirt, smiling. I used to hate this, she said. You used to hate slowing down, Nora replied. Helena laughed. Still do, but it's growing on me. Daniel came out with lemonade watching them. It's good to see the two of you working together again. Nora looked up at him. It's not work anymore. It's healing. As the sun began to set, Helena said quietly, I think I'm ready to live without the guilt now. That's when you really start living, Nora said. Later that night, as she and Daniel sat on the porch, Nora whispered, I think she's finally free. He nodded. And so are we. The moon rose over the bay, casting silver light across the water. Nora thought of the journey behind them, the betrayal, the silence, the slow rebuilding, and realized that love, when rebuilt honestly, was stronger than before. For the first time in years, her heart felt whole. October swept into Harborview with cool winds and gold leaves tumbling through the streets. Nora loved this time of year, the quiet after summer, the scent of wood smoke, the feeling of closure. Helena was thriving at the gallery, her name starting to appear in small newspaper columns. The town that once whispered about her downfall now spoke of her comeback. One Friday evening, Helena stopped by the house with takeout and a bottle of wine. Thought we could have dinner together, she said, smiling. Nora set the table while Daniel fetched glasses. Conversation flowed easily, work stories, local news, laughter that felt unforced. Halfway through dinner, Helena paused. There's something else, she said. I got a call from Marcus. The air stilled. Daniel's fork clattered softly against his plate. What did he want? Nora asked calmly. He said he's in trouble. He asked me for money. And? I said no. Helena answered firmly. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Daniel exhaled, relief mixing with disbelief. You actually said no. Helena nodded. It felt good. I told him I wasn't responsible for his mistakes anymore. Nora smiled quietly. That's growth, Helena. That's strength. Helena looked down, fingers trembling slightly. He said I'd regret it, that he'd tell everyone lies about me. Nora reached across the table and touched her hand. Let him talk. Truth doesn't need defending. Later that night, after Helena left, Daniel turned to his wife. You're proud of her. I am, Nora said. For the first time, she chose herself. 2 days later, Helena called again. Marcus showed up at the gallery, she said, voice shaking. He wanted to make a scene, but I asked security to escort him out. I didn't cry, Mom. I didn't apologize. Nora's voice was steady. You did exactly right. The following week, Helena brought over a small box. Inside was her old wedding ring. I don't want it anymore, she said. Can we melt it down? Make something new out of it? Nora smiled. That sounds perfect. They took it to a local jeweler, an older woman named Lillian who had known the Walsh family for years. Transformation, she said, holding the ring under a magnifying lamp. Metal remembers, but it can be reshaped. Helena nodded. Just like people. The new piece, a delicate pendant shaped like a wave, was ready a week later. Helena clasped it around her neck and looked in the mirror. It feels lighter, she said. Nora touched her shoulder, because it's no longer chained to pain. Meanwhile, Daniel began repairing the old boathouse behind their home. One afternoon, Helena joined him, handing him tools, laughing when he dropped a nail. You used to hate this kind of work, he teased. I used to hate anything that made me feel small, Helena said. Now I see small isn't the same as weak. Daniel smiled. You sound like your mother. As they worked, the wind picked up, scattering leaves across the dock. Helena watched the water, reflective. Do you think I can ever make up for what I did? Daniel shook his head gently. You can't erase it. You just live differently because of it. That's how you make peace. That evening, the three of them shared dinner by the fireplace. The house glowed with a warmth that had been missing for years. Afterward, Helena pulled out her camera, taking candid photos, Daniel laughing, Nora pouring tea. I want to capture this, she said softly. It's what forgiveness looks like. Later, as Nora walked her daughter to the door, Helena hesitated. There's something else I've been thinking about. What's that? I want to start a community project, Helena said. Photography workshops for local kids, to help them see the world differently. Nora's heart lifted. That's beautiful. You'd be perfect for it. Over the next month, Helena threw herself into the idea, writing proposals, gathering volunteers. The gallery agreed to sponsor it. When the first class met in late October, Nora and Daniel came to watch. Helena stood before a group of wide-eyed children, explaining how light could turn even an ordinary wall into art. Nora whispered to Daniel, "Look at her." He smiled. You'd never know she once thought she had nothing to give. After class, Helena introduced them to her students. One little girl said shyly, Miss Helena says every photo tells a truth. Helena grinned. That's right. Even hard truths are worth seeing. Driving home, Nora felt quiet joy bloom in her chest. Her daughter wasn't just rebuilding her life, she was helping others build theirs. That night, Nora stood by the window, looking out toward the harbor. The moonlight shimmered on the water, gentle and sure. Daniel came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. She's going to be okay, he said. Yes, Nora whispered. She finally is. The tide rolled in steady rhythm below the cliffs, and for the first time, Nora knew the storm had truly passed. November came quietly to Harborview. The air carried a bite now, sharp and clean. Nora loved the way the mornings felt, still, silver, filled with the scent of salt and pine. Helena's photography program had become a small success. Local newspapers ran short pieces about it, calling her the young woman who turned pain into purpose. One morning, Helena stopped by unannounced. She carried a camera bag and 2 paper cups of coffee. You busy? She asked. Only pretending to be, Nora said, smiling. They sat on the porch, watching the fog roll in from the sea. Helena's voice was calm. Mom, I've been thinking about Thanksgiving. So have I, Nora said cautiously. I'd like to host it this year. My apartment's small, but I want to try. Nora studied her daughter's face. No guilt, no apology, just intention. You're sure? Helena nodded. I'm ready to make new memories. Daniel was skeptical at first. You think she can handle it? She needs to try, Nora said. We need to let her. When Thanksgiving arrived, they brought wine and a small bouquet of lavender from the garden. Helena's apartment smelled of roasted herbs and cinnamon. The table was set with mismatched plates, but everything was neat, thoughtful, full of care. Welcome, Helena said, smiling nervously. Dinner's not perfect, but it's mine. That's all that matters, Nora said. As they ate, laughter came easily. Helena burned the rolls, forgot the cranberry sauce, and nearly spilled wine on Daniel's shirt. But no one cared. The mistakes only made the night more real. After dinner, Helena brought out a small pie, slightly cracked on top. Pumpkin, she said. Homemade. Nora took a bite and smiled. It's wonderful. Helena laughed softly. You're being kind. No, Nora said. I'm being proud. Later, Helena handed Nora a small wrapped box. I made something for you. Inside was a pendant, a tiny silver frame holding a photograph of the harbor at dawn. On the back, engraved words read, "For teaching me to begin again." Nora's throat tightened. Helena, this is beautiful. You gave me roots, Helena said. I just had to learn how to grow. Daniel lifted his glass. To new beginnings. After dinner, the three of them walked down to the pier. The night was cold but clear, the moon reflecting off the water like glass. Helena slipped her arm through Nora's. I was so scared you'd never forgive me, she said quietly. Forgiveness isn't something I give once, Nora said. It's something I choose every day. Helena nodded. Then I'll keep earning it. Back home, as Daniel stacked dishes in the sink, he said softly, She's becoming the woman we hoped she'd be. Nora smiled. Maybe she was always that woman. She just had to lose the noise around her to hear herself. The next week, Helena invited them to see her students' photo exhibit at the community hall. The children's pictures lined the walls, portraits of families, sunsets, fishing boats. Each photo carried a handwritten caption, What Hope Looks Like. When Helena introduced her parents, applause filled the room. This project wouldn't exist without them, she said. They taught me that you can rebuild even after you break. Afterward, a reporter approached Nora. Your daughter's doing incredible work, she said. What's her secret? Nora smiled faintly. She stopped running from her mistakes and started walking toward them. That night, as Nora and Daniel drove home, the town lights flickered behind them. You ever think about how far we've come? Daniel asked. All the time, Nora said. From the worst day of our lives to this, watching her shine again. At home, Nora opened her jewelry drawer. The old family necklace lay there, still wrapped in its silver box. She held it for a long time, tracing the delicate pearls. Daniel appeared behind her. Thinking it's time? Not yet, she said, but soon. Later, sitting by the window, Nora looked out at the calm sea. The tide was high, reflecting starlight. She thought about how much had changed and how much hadn't. Love still hurt sometimes, but now it hurt honestly, without resentment. Daniel joined her with 2 mugs of cocoa. You know, he said, I think she's finally found her peace. And so have we, Nora whispered. Outside, frost touched the lavender, turning it silver. The waves rolled steady, endless. Life, like the tide, had come full circle, and this time it carried more grace than pain. December settled over Harborview like a hush. The days were short, the air sharp with sea wind. Nora loved winter, the way it stripped the world bare and left only what mattered. The Walsh house glowed softly with string lights and pine garlands. For the first time in years, Christmas didn't feel heavy. One morning, as she wrapped gifts for the neighbors, Helena called, Mom, can we do Christmas Eve at your house? Nora paused, ribbon in hand. "You sure?" "I think it's time," Helena said. "I want to come home." When the night arrived, snow dusted the cliffs, a rare sight for Harborview. Daniel lit the fireplace while Nora set the table with candles and the old china that hadn't been used since before the wedding. Helena arrived carrying a pie and a nervous smile. "Smells amazing," she said, removing her coat. "You made it just in time," Nora said. "Dinner's ready." The meal was simple: roast chicken, potatoes, cranberry sauce, but the air was warm with laughter. They talked about the gallery, about Daniel's projects, about Nora's plans for spring. The conversation flowed easily until Helena reached into her bag. "I brought something," she said. "A thank you, though I know I'll never fully deserve one." She handed Nora a small envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten in looping script. "Mom, you once said love without respect doesn't survive. I think I finally understand. Thank you for setting boundaries when I didn't know how. Thank you for letting me fall, even when it broke your heart. I'm not the same woman who pushed you away. I'm learning slowly to be someone you can be proud of." Nora blinked back tears. "You already are." Helena smiled, but her voice shook. "I spent years chasing approval from the wrong people. I forgot that love isn't about proving worth. It's about showing up. And you never stopped showing up." Daniel raised his glass. "To showing up even when it hurts." After dinner, they exchanged gifts. Helena handed Daniel a carved compass made from driftwood. "So you never lose your way," she said. Then she turned to Nora and placed a small velvet box in her hands. Inside was the family necklace. The silver gleamed softly against the candlelight. "It's yours again," Helena said quietly. "I wasn't ready before, but I am now to wear it, not as inheritance, but as gratitude." For a moment, Nora couldn't speak. She lifted the necklace, her voice barely above a whisper. "This belonged to my mother. I gave it to you once out of tradition. Now you're giving it back out of choice. That means more." Helena helped her clasp it around her neck. "It suits you," she said softly. "It suits forgiveness," Nora replied. Later they sat by the fire, cocoa steaming in their hands. Outside, the snow fell steadily, muffling the world. "Do you ever wish we could erase what happened?" Helena asked. "No," Nora said. "Erasing it would mean erasing what we learned. Pain was the teacher we didn't want but needed." Daniel leaned back, watching the flames dance. "We got lost for a while," he said, "but somehow we all found our way back." Helena smiled faintly. "It feels good to be home." When the clock struck midnight, Nora placed her hand over her daughter's. "Home isn't just a place," she said. "It's the people who wait for you to come back." The next morning, the sun broke through the clouds, gilding the snow in soft gold. Helena joined Nora in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, helping with breakfast. "You know," she said, "I used to think you were too strict. Now I think you were just strong." Nora laughed quietly. "Took you long enough to realize." "I got there eventually," Helena said. They stood side by side, flipping pancakes, their laughter mingling with the crackle of the fire. When breakfast was done, Nora looked at her daughter and said, "You know, I think your grandmother would be proud." Helena nodded. "I hope so. I finally understand what she tried to teach you, what you tried to teach me. Love isn't soft, it's steady." Nora smiled, her eyes warm. "Exactly." That afternoon, as Helena prepared to leave, she hugged her parents tightly at the door. "I'll see you for New Year's." "We'll be waiting," Daniel said. When the car disappeared down the snowy road, Nora turned to Daniel. "This time she'll come back." "She will," he said, "because now she knows where she belongs." Nora touched the necklace resting against her collarbone. It no longer felt like an heirloom. It felt like a promise fulfilled. Outside, The sea shimmered beneath the pale winter sun. The season of endings had become one of peace, proof that even broken things could be mended by love that refused to give up. January came to Harborview cold and bright, the kind of light that made even the sea look new. Frost coated the garden fence, and the lavender bowed beneath a thin veil of ice. Inside the Walsh home, peace had settled deep. Nora woke early each morning, brewed coffee, and watched the first blush of sunrise spill across the cliffs. Helena called more often now, not out of guilt, not out of need, just to talk. "Dad finished the fence?" she asked one morning. "Almost," Nora said, smiling. "He's pretending it's engineering, not stubbornness." Helena laughed. "Sounds about right." By mid-February, word spread that Helena's community photography program was expanding. The local paper ran a headline, "From Scandal to Strength, Helena Walsh inspires local youth." Daniel clipped the article and stuck it to the fridge. "Look at her," he said proudly. "Our daughter, doing good. She's finally using her pain for something beautiful," Nora said softly. The next weekend, Helena invited them to dinner. Her apartment was still modest but full of life, plants in the window, framed photos along the walls, the faint scent of rosemary. "It's cozy," Nora said. "Small but mine," Helena replied with a smile. Over dinner, Helena shared her newest plan. "I want to open a small studio by the pier, teach photography, host exhibits, mentor kids. I've saved enough for the down payment." Daniel's brow lifted. "You're not asking for help?" Helena shook her head. "Not this time. I'm ready to do it myself." Nora reached across the table and took her daughter's hand. "That's all we ever hoped for." A few days later, an envelope arrived, an invitation to the studio's opening, The Light Between Tides. Nora held it like something sacred. "She's really doing it," she said. When March arrived, the coastal air was crisp and bright. The studio was small, painted white, filled with golden light. The walls glowed with Helena's photos, fishermen on the docks, waves breaking over the cliffs, a little girl laughing in the spray. But the final image stopped Nora in her tracks. A photograph of herself, standing by the sea, her silver necklace gleaming. Helena appeared beside her. "It's called The Woman Who Stayed." Nora blinked. "That's me." Helena nodded. "You taught me that love isn't weakness, it's endurance." When the guests had gone, the three of them stayed behind in the quiet glow of string lights. Daniel looked around proudly. "You built all this from ashes." Helena smiled softly. "You and Mom taught me how." Nora shook her head. "No, you just needed to remember who you were." Driving home along the dark road, Nora held Helena's invitation in her lap. The ink shimmered faintly in the dashboard light. "It feels like everything's come full circle," she said. Daniel nodded. "Maybe this is what peace looks like." The next morning, Nora stood on the porch with a mug of tea, watching gulls wheel above the cliffs. The sea moved in slow rhythm, calm for once. Daniel joined her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "You're quiet," he said. "I was thinking," Nora replied. "All that pain we carried, it doesn't feel heavy anymore. It feels like something we grew from." He smiled. "We didn't just survive it. We turned it into something worth keeping." Later that week, Helena stopped by with a gift, a framed photograph wrapped in brown paper. Inside was the same image from her exhibit. Nora at the shoreline, hair lifted by the wind, eyes steady. On the back was a note, "Because you showed me where light begins." Nora placed it on the mantel beside their wedding photo. "She finally sees herself clearly," she murmured. Daniel smiled. "And she sees you, too." That evening, as twilight settled, Nora walked through the garden, the cold air sharp but gentle. She touched a sprig of lavender, its scent faint under the frost. Every leaf, every scar of winter seemed to tell the same truth. Healing wasn't sudden, it was seasonal. Back inside, the fire crackled softly. Nora sat by the window, listening to the waves beyond the cliffs. "Funny," she said quietly, "how we spent years trying to keep her safe when all she needed was space to grow." Daniel poured 2 cups of cocoa and handed her one, and now she's teaching others to see beauty where it hurts. Nora smiled. The cycle continues. They sat together in the glow of the fire, hands intertwined. Outside, the tide rolled steady under a silver moon. "Do you think people can change completely?" Daniel asked. "No," Nora said, "but they can become truer versions of themselves. That's enough." She leaned her head against his shoulder, the sea whispering below, eternal and forgiving. And for the first time in years, Nora didn't think of the pain that began their story, but of the light that had followed it, soft and unbroken, leading them all home.